Greetings, everyone. So, yeah, this is what I look like first thing in the morning. I wanted to make a video today, almost like a no makeup selfie. Just be like, okay, dudes, I'm not editing myself in any sort of way whatsoever, even pre-editing myself. Not just the video editing, but also the way that I look before I make this video, because in a way, this is kind of like a spiritual practice for me, because it is, just getting rid of any fear that I have about really just putting myself out there as I am, and probably, taking the part of the day that I look the least attractive, and then just deciding to put myself on the internet anyways. The only thing that I have done currently is put some shorts on, and I'm sure you're glad that I have done that. So yeah, I mean, this is actually a great segue into what I really wanted to talk about, and that is, honestly, I think we have this real problem in the dichotomy between spirituality and spiritual practice. I think they're really totally different things. Spirituality is, actually being spiritual, and spiritual practice is sort of practicing being spiritual. And I think a lot of people can get stuck in that spiritual practice phase, but never really graduate to being spiritual. And what do I mean by this? It's so coming from where I used to be. I used to, when I first discovered spirituality, when I first discovered things like meditation, and no, not even prayer. I didn't start praying until very recently. And when I got into meditation, when I got into spiritual practice, now I'm talking about everything from your sort of Vipassana style meditation, where you are scanning your body, all the way to your journaling, your Wim Hof method, all of these types of practice, all of these things, and they're amazingly good for you. They put you in really good moods and allow you to really cut through a lot of the bullshit. I'm not bad mouthing meditation or breathing or any of these things in any way. However, I did find that at some point I started becoming very reliant on these spiritual practices, almost like they were an addiction. So I come from a history of addiction, and addiction to substances, like what people would term actual addictions. But however, after I stopped being addicted to these substances, I started finding myself becoming addicted to the routine of doing these spiritual practices. So, wake up, I have to meditate exactly an hour a day, I have to then go from meditation to breathing, and then after breathing I got to do journaling, and after journaling I got to do exercise. And if I didn't do this in exactly that order for that exact amount of time, I'd feel like something was horribly wrong. And I'm not the only one that's experienced this. I hear people many a time literally turn to me and say, oh, if I don't meditate an hour a day, my whole day is ruined. And I'm just like, okay, that sounds like an addiction to me. For me, that sounds like you're missing the point of meditation. And this is why I'm doing this video in the morning, because for me, this is the actual spirituality that's going to push me forward. Okay, it may sound weird for me to say that making a video is part of spirituality, but this is the issue that we have. We're trying to separate spirituality. Everything is spirituality. Everything that we do is spirituality. The only difference is, are you present during what you're doing, or are you not present during what you're doing? If you're perfectly present during this, like I feel like I'm very present right now as I'm making this video, then this is spiritual. Do you understand? Many people think that spirituality is only meditating in a quiet room, or doing the prayers, or journaling. I mean, it is spirituality. But are you doing it just to tick off a box, or are you actually present during what you're doing? I think that's part of like a lot of the spiritual tradition that I derive most of my principles from. I mean, it's part of it, because really my spiritual beliefs are an amalgamation of all of these traditions that I study and read about, and some of them I practice. And like Tantra is one of those things, and what Tantra speaks about is really turning the mundane into God. Now that's a metaphor. I'm not actually saying like, oh, this chair is God, but you know what I mean. It's like we are taking the thing that seems regular and we're lifting it to the level of spirituality. So it's like this video may seem regular to you, but to me, I'm lifting it up to the level of a spiritual practice. And I think that's something that we should be striving to do with absolutely everything in life, because I think this is the key, to take the most boring, mundane thing and elevate it to that level. Elevate it to the level of a practice of meditation. A lot of people, you wake up in the morning, you meditate. As soon as you get out into the real world, everything goes to shit. You start getting angry at people cutting you off in traffic. You get triggered by the first person that you walk into. I know that I really am not criticizing anybody here, because I've been through all of that. The only reason I can speak about this stuff is because I've been that guy. Okay? I'm not trying to say I'm perfect, and I'm not even trying to say that I don't do this from time to time here and there. However, I am very viscerally aware of it, and I have improved tremendously, and that's all we can hope to do. All we can hope to do is improve slowly every single day and move towards the direction that the direction of our goals. Perfection is the enemy of success. If you want to be perfect, I don't know. You're going to have a really hard time of anything in your life. It's unfortunate, but the way that we actually become perfect is by letting go of perfection. I'm a content creator, and I've been spending a lot of time over the last few months really deeply studying manifestation. And when I was talking about manifestation in my previous videos, honestly, I did not have anywhere near the knowledge that I have now. And I'm sure you can even tell that the way that I speak is much more in the flow. I'm much less in my head thinking about what I'm going to say. And obviously I still have my times where I am in my head and I don't know what to say. But it's getting to that point where more and more I am just in the flow. More and more I'm able to just share what's in my heart without interruption, without getting all stuck up in here, and just letting it come out. Just letting everything be in sync rather than trying to fight against the flow and really decide what's going to come out of my mouth next. And over the last few months, I've really been trying to get into the headspace, not trying, actually getting into the headspace of somebody who makes videos like this, okay? And in my opinion, I'm starting to see real palpable results here, so what do I do? What would a person who was a YouTuber or a content creator do? It wouldn't be difficult for him to make videos. You wouldn't have to think about it too much, right? At least that's the YouTuber or the content creator that I want to be. I'm pretty sure there are YouTubers and content creators who are successful but are taking the hard route. They're really going discipline, like enforce this. It has to be done at this time. And this, for me, I want a video to be as easy as going to the toilet. Like, I don't have to think about going to the toilet. For me, I know some people it's difficult to do, but I don't have to think to drink a glass of water, And why is that? Because there's very little resistance, very little importance placed on drinking the glass of water. So I really have been doing a deep dive into this. It's like, how can I making a video feel like drinking a glass of water? How can I make it so easy? Back when I was an addict, I didn't have to think about sparking a joint. I literally just made the joint and lit it. There was no resistance to smoking a joint. There was no resistance to drinking lots of alcohol. So why is there resistance to doing something productive? Why is there resistance to playing my guitar? Why is there resistance to making a video? Why is there resistance to learning a language? And it's because you're placing so much importance on these things that gradually you start to burn yourself out, because it's taking your willpower to do it. It's taking effort to do it. You know? But how do we get into a state where it actually takes little to no effort to manage these things? And this, my friends, is what manifestation really is about. This is what it's like to live in the flow. I mean, this is how you program yourself to live in the flow, you know? So how do we get rid of that resistance? How do we get rid of that importance? Well, visualization, my friends. Okay, visualization. Manifestation is real, but it's not about just thinking positive. It's about actually being positive. Okay, it's about making those adjustments to becoming that person that you see in your head, but you really got to do the groundwork. It's like creating a character in a book. It's like, how much more compelling is the character if it was well thought out? Like, what are its motivations? You know, what is he thinking? What is she thinking? Like, what goals does he want to achieve? It's like, how would he think about those goals if he were to be successful at those goals? This is what you're doing. You are crafting the character that you want to be in the now. Okay? Because the future hasn't happened yet, and the past doesn't exist. Okay, so we have to be directing our attention to that image in the now. Okay. I thought to myself, how would this YouTuber view videos? He would be making videos like this. It would be like breathing to him, right? So it's like getting up in the morning and making a video. This should not be difficult. This should just be second nature. This should be like brushing your teeth. What resistance do people have to brushing their teeth? Okay, don't answer that question, guys. I know some of you guys out there, disgusting. You don't brush your teeth. I'm joking, but also not. You know, how do I make this like brushing my teeth? You know, so recently I've been filming a lot of videos. Just every time I get in the car, I'll film a short. You know, every time I stop the car at my destination, I'll film another short. You know, and I'm not perfect. You know, not every time I get in the car, not every time I do this, but I'm doing it more and more often. It's starting to become just second nature that I freaking take my phone out and start filming a video. And I got to do it even more. You know, I got to do it to when I get to the events that I get to. I've just got to do it in every sort of little intersection. And again, I don't have to do it. This isn't about being like a machine or being perfect or anything like that. It's like, I want to do it, you know, because that's my goal. That's what I need to achieve. And it's not challenging, it's not difficult. I don't have to do it. I want to do it, right? That's also another trap that you can fall into. You've got to get to a point where, you know, the guy doing YouTube also, if he didn't film the video, he wouldn't be upset. It wouldn't like compromise his other videos or his video creating capability. And this is the mindset that I'm getting into, guys, or like I've gotten into of late. You know, how would a guy think about, like with guitar for me? It's like, how would a guitarist, or like a guitarist that loves guitar, because there's guitarists that play, musicians that play guitar, but they don't love guitar. How would they look at guitar? How would they look at guitar practice? You know, and I really thought about it, and it's like, okay, they would take the most mundane practice and make it the most fun. Every single note would hold such meaning to them, and they would fall in love with every single note. You know, and practicing for them would be a joy. Like making videos for me is a joy. Practicing guitar for me now is a joy. Would you rather keep flogging yourself to get yourself to do these things, a la Andrew Tate style kind of situation? Like, you're a little bitch. Fah! Fah! You know, what do you think your inner child feels like when you do that to him? Your inner child is crying out every time you go out and discipline yourselves. So especially to the men I'm talking to you right now. It's like, I've been there. I've been the guy who disciplines himself and like whips himself into shape and tells himself that he's not worth anything. He has to do more and he has to do better. Let me tell you right now that that is a load of shit. Do not listen to anything that those people say. okay? It is rubbish, alright? You can get yourself to do a lot of things and you can be very successful that way, but you're going to be absolutely miserable. You're going to be so miserable by the end of it, guys. Great, you might get the girls, you might get the cars, you might get the mansion, but you are going to be feeling crap. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that right now. This is a much better way of going about it. You want to get to the point in your life where doing these things is easy, where doing these things is second nature, where you're in the flow, where you're not forcing yourself to do these things, but you're actually just like, I'm just going to do it because I love it, because I love doing these things, you know. And that, I think, really is the point of this video that I'm trying to make, because I want to take you on this journey, man. You know, of loving yourself, on this journey, man, journey, girl, of loving yourself, of just enjoying life, of being in the flow, and really changing your existence. You know, so many people, as I said, they get caught up in this spirituality that they forget to live their lives. They forget their mission. There's some people living on these, Buddhist retreats for years, and I don't really believe that that's what they want to do with their lives. I believe that they're spiritually bypassing. I believe they're running away from what they really want to be doing in their lives. And I want to speak a lot to those people, especially to those people here right now. It's like, you think that you are benefiting yourself and your society, but you're just scared, and I understand what it's like to be that scared, okay? But you can't run away from your life, okay? And what we can do is we can elevate all those little parts of your life. We can manifest things that you really want to do, and we can elevate all those little parts of your life to the level of that spirituality. And once you start doing that, there's no separation anymore. I'm not saying I don't do my spiritual practice anymore. I have a very different spiritual practice. I go in the garden, I don't time it. I just spend time observing nature. After that, I come do some breathing and I do some mirror work. If I don't do that, and some days I don't freak out about it, guys. You gotta do it because you want to do it. Not because, that's literally how I'm manifesting the way that I think right now. And I can go more into the process of how I do that later, but this is this is not the start of it, but it really is how I feel it to be for me, this is a huge honor and a privilege, not just to the people watching on the other side, but to myself. Because I'm sitting here completely unmanicured, completely underdone in every single way. I feel like, I feel really good about myself. I love myself, honestly. In the last few months, I've loved myself more than I've ever loved, or actually loved myself for the first time in my entire life. And it is, in my opinion, due to this little change of thinking that I've had. Stopped running away just into spiritual practice and started using my spiritual practice as a platform for me to get things done. And I think once you start doing that, you're going to see incredible changes in your life. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me in this video, and there will be many, 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 many more to come. Have a wonderful day.